guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called Hilarious Times People Caught American Tourists in the Wild and Shared Their Experiences. So I don't even know what this means. Does this mean people seeing tourists, just people from the United States just acting weird? Maybe that's it. Maybe they were being funny or something, or I don't know, they caught them just acting naturally and doing random and weird things, probably because these are common. So I don't know, but I'm guessing it's gonna be something funny. Hopefully we're gonna be getting a lot of laughs. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Scottish. Was asked if we had TVs in Scotland. Didn't have the heart to tell them the Scots invented the television. Do they think only the people in the United States have TVs? That would be weird. In Kansas, a man said to me, if English was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. I didn't bother trying to respond. Why? What? If English was good enough for Jesus? Oh, because they think, okay, hold on. I'm not that religious, but even I know that Jesus is he's from the Middle East, right? He's not American. So they believe that Jesus' native language was English? That's crazy. Do they think the Bible was written in English as well? Weird. When I say I'm from South Africa, and they're like, where's that? The clue's literally in the name. Yeah. It's it's the continent and the location. Wouldn't you know? It's South Africa. Crazy. About 20 years ago, when the big tsunami hit Indonesia and Thailand, one of my online American friends was very worried for me. Because of the tsunami, I had to explain to her that I live in Denmark, and if that tsunami had hit me, we'd all be in a lot of trouble. Okay, that one's shocking to me, because confusing some places like Thailand, they're confusing Southeast Asia with something in Denmark, which is quite concerning to me, because it's one thing to maybe confuse two countries that are in the same continent or similar, and another thing to actually confuse, again, two places that are in completely opposite locations geographically. So, you know what? Do they think they have tsunamis in Denmark? That's crazy. I read of an American who complained about a sign saying genuine Italian pizza because pizza, it's American. The pizzeria was in Italy. Well, no, pizza, it's not American. They have Chicago-style pizza, though. That's something else. I saw an American TikToker who got 500 euros worth of speeding tickets in Germany because she thought there was no speed limit in the whole country, like on Autobahn. Oh, and I know the Autobahn even has stretches where there's a speed limit, so it's not everything. I was in Mexico from England, and an American couldn't understand why it took me 9 hours to get there and here only 3. They're feeling geography so badly that I can't. I got told off by an American for stating my friend was black. The correct term is African American. I'm Irish. My friend is Irish. I have to say, sadly, this doesn't shock me that much, because I think Americans, again, not to be all whatever, but a lot of people in the United States, they think the world sort of revolves around them, and for some reason they think that everyone black is automatically African American, when there's no, there's black people all over the world. They don't really have a relationship with the United States, why, or Africa, so why would they be that? So it's crazy. You have to tell them it's crazy, but you need to inform them. I work on a South African reserve. Had an American guest ask me why lions aren't on a vegan diet. I think that one was a joke. I would guess that was a joke. I wouldn't take this seriously. I think it was a joke. Okay, hold on. This one's long. My great-granny had a house near a nature trail in the UK. It was remote, so she would often leave doors unlocked. Once she came out of her bedroom to find us US tourists sitting in her living room, they proceeded to tell her the service was terrible and they've been waiting half an hour for a cup of tea and lunch to be served, and could they have some chairs put out so they can take it out on the lawn. She quickly let them out of her house. Okay, that's crazy, because Americans are pretty big on private property, so you're trespassing, please. Imagine granny being all please get out of my house, I'm calling the police. At a reconstructed Viking village in Sweden, I was asked if the government treated us right, as if it was a reservation for Vikings. Vikings don't exist, and I think Vikings was not even, it was a culture, but I think it was more like a profession. I don't think they were an actual group of people. I was asked how haggis was made. I explained it was traditional to boil in a sheep's stomach. They asked how we get the haggis back out of the sheep. Oh my god, do they think the sheep's alive or something? Had an American woman ask me if the moon here in South Africa is a different moon than the one they have in Texas. No, it's the same moon everywhere, and I think that's beautiful actually. But they don't even know, they think all countries have different moons. I told an American that Australian money looked different to USA money. She told me it was illegal to print your own money. Oh, they think they're printing it? Do they know that each country prints their own money? That's crazy. I am confused every time I hear an American insist that my neighbor is African American because he's never been to neither Africa or America. He's third generation Swede and British before that. See what I mean? They don't really know. They think everyone's African American. It's like, no, there's black people all over the world. There was an American in our store who tried to get served for everyone else because she was an American and we should be grateful that he's here. Oh, is he? Well, you know what he deserves? Like, it's the stereotype of like the entitled American tourist of like no one wants to serve them because obviously like that's the worst case scenario of the worst type of American tourist you can get is this kind of person. I asked an American what their nationality was in their passport and they said white. They confuse nationality and ethnicity all the time. It's a common mistake like Americans make. I'm Australian and I once had an American tell me my English was very good. Have had the same thing as a New Zealander. I said thanks. I've been practicing since I learned to speak. Yeah, they don't really know other countries speak English either apparently. I got told that Australians can't be gay because only people in America can be gay. I was told by an American, wait, what? And does he think like only people in the United States are gay? And was he gay? So confused. Bilingual American here, I was speaking French to my son and someone complained loudly how Spanish is taking over. French and Spanish, they don't really sound remotely similar. Like they don't sound similar at all. When I worked at a knitwear factory, making knitted clothes, and an American once asked me where we kept the colorful sheep. Not realizing we dye the wool, we don't have purple sheep. Oh my god, that's exactly the same case of like people that think that like milk chocolate comes, like chocolate milk comes from like brown cows. Are those the same kind of people? That's crazy how they think. It's crazy. Are those children? I'm Scottish. Went on a cruise a few years ago. I had heard that Americans can sometimes say pretty dumb things. I didn't believe this until I was talking with one people when I was on the boat and an American asked me to turn off my accent because he couldn't understand me. Can you turn it off? Because he's Scottish. When I did a study abroad semester in America, someone once asked me if we had knives and forks in England to eat our food. I have a Northern English accent and the amount of people that asked me where in New Zealand I was from was quite impressive. I have to say, people like New Zealand, like those, like the New Zealander accent, maybe a little bit hard to not understand, but maybe like if you're not used to it, maybe I can see why you maybe would confuse it with some sort of British accent that I know that British people have all sorts of accents as well. So I'm gonna give them a pass just because maybe they don't really know a lot of like New Zealanders and they don't know like where exactly they're from. So, you know, who knows? I'm giving them grace. I was shopping with my mom in the States. We were speaking Portuguese. The cashier asked if we were speaking Jewish. Jewish is not even a language. Like, that's Yiddish. And what? Like, this is crazy. An American tourist got out of his hire car to bang on my window for not turning right on a red light in London. Well, that's unfortunate. I would not even know how to react in this situation. I was in Prague with my Glaswegian boyfriend, okay, from Glasgow. An American tourist approaches, asking for directions. Boyfriend gave said directions. She stared at him for a second, then proceeded to curse at him because no one in this can speak English. I then decided to translate for her. He does have a thick accent. She then told me that I needed to work on my accent. I'm English. It isn't quite accurate. What? Again, I think it's the Glaswegian because Scottish people can have strong accents, so I would maybe not, that was rude, but I can understand people not actually understanding what they mean because again, it's a strong accent, but not be rude, please. I had to explain to a US tourist in Scotland that a squirrel was in fact not a rabbit. Do rabbits and squirrels, they don't look alike. Maybe they needed glasses. Maybe that person definitely needed glasses. I was at a cafe in Stockholm when an American girl came up and asked me if I knew when the next train to Asgard leaves. She was totally serious. That's not a real place, right? That's fictional. I was in an Estonian language class with an American girl and she asked me how the hell do Estonian children learn this language. I told her that people from other countries have different default languages other than English. She didn't believe me. That's crazy. Although all technically all languages are invented, so maybe she had a point. You know, maybe I'm giving them the benefit of doubt. Someone I know doesn't agree that Egypt is in Africa. I asked them where they think it is. They said Saudi. Saudi is not even like, that's just like Saudi Arabia. That's another country. What do you think this is? OMG, I'm from Wales, and I had an argument with an American in New Zealand that Wales wasn't a real place. I spoke some Welsh, and she was like, "You're just making that up." Again, all languages are invented, so maybe she had a point. Had an American asked me if I was ashamed of my grandpa's actions during World War II, and how I felt about my family being on the wrong side of the warm Scottish. Okay, this is, you know, and again, what's up with like shaming people for like stuff that happened 300 years ago? Well, not 300 years ago, 40 years ago, but it wasn't me. In Mont Saint Michel, and a family of Americans in front of me asked a shopkeeper if he spoke American. He responded English. They walked away. Actually, I think that's deserved. So, you know, yes, good riddance. Please go. They don't really know the difference, so bye. Was asked by an American which part of Japan New Zealand was. Well, again, that's unfortunate. I wouldn't even know how to respond to this. Like, please look at a map. I got a story for American tourists in the wild. I'm a German exchange student. One of my classmates found out and asked me if I knew some random German guy. Since Germany is a tiny town in Canada, I just walked away. You know, I think I would have done the same thing. Good for them. I would just walked away as well. I'm gonna ask them if they know like a random like Peter Johnson. Norway here. An American colleague visiting at a Norwegian office seriously asked why we had white people working in the cafeteria. What? What does that have to do with everything? Like what? I got asked once if Latin America had a president, like Latin America as in the whole South America, single president. Oh, they think that's just like one, there's no countries, it's just like one country. Latin America is just one thing. They're failing geography so bad. I saw an American having a meltdown that the USA wasn't in the Commonwealth. I asked what he celebrated on 4th of July. He said, "You wouldn't understand." You wouldn't understand. That's true, actually. I don't understand. Fellow Cornish, my house is an old church, and I recently had a tourist ringing the old bell attached to my house. When confronted, they said there's no sign saying I can't ring it. Me, there's no sign saying you can't either. No, F off. Yeah, please, like, what's about sort of with people, like, getting into people's, like, homes as well? Is it, like, a British thing? I'm South African, and while working in the States, I was asked if it was the first time wearing clothes. No, they don't have clothes. They just, you know, wear rags or whatever. This is crazy, actually. In Croatia, we heard Americans debating about whether there are bears in Europe. One said no, they did not before we imported them there. We imported bears. American tourists in my restaurant in Canada couldn't believe we had, and I quote, "people of color here," because they thought we were albino. Wait, what? Not sure if it had something to do with the province Alberta. Was too stoned to speak. We were in Ontario. Oh, because Alberta, albino? I got into a 5-minute argument with an American because he refused to accept that I was Filipino since I was tall. I'm 5'8". Apparently, I was lying to him because Filipinos can't grow taller than 5'3". This is so weird. I'm Norwegian, and in 2014, I worked at the Norwegian Pavilion in Epcot, Walt Disney World. Americans usually didn't believe that I could be Norwegian because I didn't have an accent. Apparently, you can't be perfectly bilingual. My friends with accent had apparently been paid out to make the illusion more believable. Even when I spoke Norwegian in their face, I was pretending. We also apparently ride polar bears in the streets here. Wouldn't that be the dream? If Norway was like that, that would be actually a dream, you know, just riding polar bears like horses. That's crazy. I was once asked by a tourist why I am not in school and I am too poor. Am I too poor to go to school? It was summer in Jamaica and I was 13 enjoying the beach. Oh my God. They also think like all countries are poor except from the United States. I was a Spanish exchange student in Missouri and so many students didn't know Spain was in Europe. The high school that I attended didn't even have language courses. I'm gonna be mean and I'm gonna say it's because it's Missouri and, you know, people in the South, you know, they have weird educational systems. Was that too mean for me to say? I don't know, maybe. Okay, yeah, this was completely crazy. I would love to say that it was like crazy in a good way, but it wasn't actually. Like, it was funny, but also I'm sad because I refuse to believe some of these things are real. Like, maybe again, a lot of things I'm willing to say like, oh, they were joking, like they were trying to make a joke, or maybe they were being very like serious. When you try to make a joke and you're being like very deadpan, and people believe that you're being for real, but it's like, no, I'm trying to be funny. But that's the whole thing. People don't understand that I'm making a joke because I'm not laughing in your face. I'm just like playing stupid, and maybe that's the case for a lot of these. I think the geography ones, I think they're the craziest ones to me. I think I can give them a pass. With like the language thing, some of them, like maybe I can, they don't really sound that similar, like this, for instance, like the Spanish and the French one, or the ones with the accents, maybe I could give them a pass. The others, like the geography ones and the history ones, I think those are like, for me, those are kind of unforgivable. Again, maybe if I blame all of these things in the school system, because some of them did not have, like good educational systems. They don't have good schools, and sadly this is what happens. But maybe they're adults, so maybe at one point in their lives, there's like a certain point in time where you can just blame it on school. Oh, like I had it was a bad school, but until one point, like you can actually blame your school. Like you're an adult, like you went to school 1,000 years ago, so maybe it's time for you to like actually learn about the world at some point in your life. So makes me sad. So more than, obviously it's funny because obviously they're so dumb, but at the same time I think hopefully if they're joking, and if they're not joking, I'm sad because they're so silly. Like, not silly, obviously I want to say like a stronger word, I will not, but it's kind of like a sad situation that there's like, how many Americans are there? There are like 300 million people. How many are like this? It's probably, you would think it's the majority, but maybe it's just the bad ones that leave a bad impression. So again, because they're the ones that actually go out and they go visit other countries, so they leave a bad impression. And it's like, well, it's sad because not all Americans are like that. So it is kind of like, if you want to know why you have a bad rep, it's because of this. It's like, you really do have to work. You have to swim against the current to actually say like, no, I'm a smart American tourist. Like not all of them are like that. But it is kind of like a sad situation. And also, like, I have to say the cultural ones as well, they're sad. They don't really know, like, they believe, those are probably the most, like, offensive ones. They don't know there's, like, black people all over the world. They don't know that there's, like, not everyone, like, oh, the United States, like, the richest country ever, and all other countries are poor. Like, those are probably the ones that was like, oh, I'm from the United States, so you have to, like, attend to me first. Those are probably like in the realm of where it starts to get a little bit offensive. So I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to reply to this. Like, with the one person I just walked away. I think that would be my answer for a lot of these things. Like, especially when they get offensive about it all, I'm like, no, you know what? It's not even worth it. Because again, the ones that you tried to like explain to, like, they were asking for directions, and the people was, I think, they were British. No, one was from England and the other was from Glasgow. I think it was Glasgow, Scotland. And they were like, oh, just speak English here. No one speaks English in this country. It's like, well, if you're being that rude about this, I'm gonna give you the wrong directions actually. So, or I'm gonna, you know what? I think maybe, I don't know if they do it on purpose, but maybe again, because it's stronger accents, and it's a thing of like Scottish people specifically do have very strong accents, and I think some people in some regions in the United Kingdom, they can have strong accents, and I think if you're not used to it, it can sound a little bit, can you slow down a little bit because I can't understand you. You need to, like, your ear needs to actually you get used to it, because it's not an easy thing, especially if it's the first time that you're listening to those accents. It can be hard, but again, it's more about like your ear and your brain needs to actually get used to it. So you can maybe just ask them to like slow down, but you're not going to be all super rude about this, like, oh, speak with an American accent so I can understand you better. It's like, well, if you're being like that, I would like, if I were them, I would actually put a stronger accent so you wouldn't understand me, because I can actually speak more clearly. But since you're being like so silly and stupid about this, actually I'm gonna put it like the thickest accent ever so you don't understand a thing, or I'm gonna give you the wrong directions actually, and I'm gonna, oh, you actually want to go that way? I'm gonna tell you, oh yeah, just go south, for like 4 miles. So, it's the entitlement of some people. It's crazy. And I think, again, it's like Americans in the wild, they need to, I don't know, have Google, learn, and they need like an introductory course on cultural affairs and especially geography and history. Again, not all of them, but please, it's wild that a lot of people were complaining, like from a bunch of other nationalities, and there were like so many different nationalities just like being all like, wow, I can't believe they're that stupid. And it's like, it's not just like, it's crazy. That's, I think, the wildest thing to me, is that it's just not people from the UK. No, it was people from Europe. There was people from Latin America. There was people, I think, from Africa. Like, there were people from all over the world complaining about like, wow, people are so dumb in the United States. So it is like, wow, you know what? It's everyone complaining about this. So it is, again, sad, but crazy that a lot of countries are complaining about it. So please do something, or try to educate your fellow Americans if you're not like that. It's not, it shouldn't be on you, but you kind of have to, just for you to like not get a bad rap. That this was funny and also quite sad, but that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.